Welcome to the interview show. This is Scott Wood, your host. Right now, I'm deep in the bowels of the Vogue Theatre in Vancouver. I'm talking with a guy named FLUME.
Hello.
And right now, FLUME is not wearing any shoes. Is this a typical habit for you?
No, I had a shower actually just before. Yeah. Yeah, there's showers and stuff down here because we're on a tour bus. So like we don't have a shower on the bus. So like when we get to venues, we have to have showers. Otherwise, it could get pretty musky in there with 5 dudes and not showering.
All right, I'm trying to get a funny moment for the beginning of the show. I'll let you escape. We'll play a song. We'll come back to it later.
Hey, this is FLUME, and you're listening to the interview show with Scott Wood. Hey, this is FLUME, and you're listening to the interview show with Scott Wood.
Welcome to the interview show. This is Scott Wood, your host. I'm sitting here in the Vogue Theatre talking to Harley. You might know him better as a guy called FLUME. We just heard Sleepless featuring Jezzabell, Doran. I'd love it, Harley, if you could talk a bit about this track.
So this was one of the tracks that really started the whole FLUME thing. It was on my first EP. The EP was called Sleepless. This is the title track. And yeah, it was a 3-track EP, and I sent it in to my label. They were running a competition, and it was like the comp was, send your best original tracks in. So I sent in the Sleepless EP, which had kind of been collecting dust on my hard drive. And I hadn't really done a huge amount with it. And then they really liked it. I didn't realize that I'd kind of done anything unique. It was just some music I was making, and it kind of made me realize, like, okay, this is the kind of sound I actually want to pursue. That's where it really all began for me.
Let's start with an easy one. I would love you to talk about the name. Is it from the Bon Iver song?
Yeah, I mean, that one was from the song, but it also, I figured like if this project was ever going to get successful, then it would be put on, the word FLUME would be on T.Shirts and posters and things. So as well as a word that, I liked the sound of, I wanted to have something that looked nice, like from a typography perspective. So FLUME works for me.
What was the runner-up song that you could have named yourself after?
I used to call myself Heads, H-E-D-S, Harley Edward Stretton. I like FLUME more.
Okay, you've got a great origin story, but I was reading your Twitter on the way here, and you hate being asked it. So I'll skip that origin story, although it's an awesome one. Anyhow, I've got to spin it into something else then. Nah, I'll just leave it. So a lot of debut records show their influences very obviously. FLUME, you've done a pretty good job of not doing that. I'm hoping you can talk a little bit about finding your own sound.
Well, it really stems from, first of all, I like all styles of music. But I think the main thing is that, like, growing up, like, writing music, I always wrote different kinds of genres. Like, one day I'd write, like, a hip-hop track. The next I'd write minimal techno. Then I'd write an orchestral score the next day. So it comes from, just writing heaps of different genres. And then I feel like once you've kind of mastered some of these genres and you know how it works, you can go and, pick and choose the best parts and kind of make your own genre, I guess. Hey, this is FLUME, and you're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood.
Something more. What my brain
Hey, this is FLUME, and you're listening to The Interview Show with Scott Wood.
Welcome back to The Interview Show. This is Scott Wood, your host. You just heard Left Alone featuring Chet Faker. That's by a guy named FLUME. I'm talking to him right now. I'd love it if you could talk a bit about this track.
Well, I actually wrote this song in Barcelona, in a cafe. Let's go back a bit. Let's rewind. I was in Australia and I was having beers in my friend's garage. A Chet Faker track came on. I'd never heard of him before, but I heard his voice and I was like, damn, like I want to work with this dude. That's really unique sounding voice. So I did it. Like I Googled him the next day, and I found out he just lived in Melbourne, which is like really close to Sydney. So I had a gig in Melbourne and contacted him, and we met up and hung out, and we got along, and we were like, yeah, let's do a song together. So anyway, a little later on, I was in Barcelona and I wrote this song, and I was like, damn, like this would be great with Nick's vocals or Chet Faker's vocals on it. So I emailed it to him, and he did some stuff and went back and forth a few times, and there we have it. Left Alone.
So electronic music makers tend to make their music in dark rooms for long hours. So I'm hoping that you could talk about one or two comfort items in your studio that make it a little more of a friendly place.
Usually my dogs at my feet usually make it quite comfortable. Sam likes to sit on my foot, and there's a sub down there too, and he'll just sit next to the sub and sleep quietly whilst I'm blasting loud music.
So everyone wants to know, what type of dogs are they and what color are they?
Well, they actually feature on my Instagram pretty regularly these days. I got bored one day, and I like the position I'm in, it's really important for an artist to do social media, especially like for me, because I've got the fan base, and it's kind of where it all came from for me. It was a lot of like SoundCloud and Facebook and stuff. So I really I want to do social media every day and kind of connect with the fans and like keep in touch and stuff. But sometimes there's nothing to post about. So you have to make things up, just out of the blue. And, I was sitting there on the balcony having a coffee, and I had nothing to post about. So I just started, putting stuff on my dog, Sam. Like I had some records, so I put them on him, and then took a photo, just annoying Sam. And then it got heaps of likes, and I was like, wow, so people like this. So I did another one the next day, part 2, just putting all sorts of like pens and just whatever I could find around the house. And then it kind of became a thing. So, I'm looking for part 3. So maybe when I get back, I'll be able to see what I can do. But they're both Jack Russells and brown white little dogs.
I've read a lot about you talking about social media as like a function of what you do, whereas a lot of artists don't see it that way.
Yeah, it's new. Like I feel like I'm kind of one of the first wave of producers who, my career is being made by online, like social media and SoundCloud, really. Like, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of help from radio and stuff, but it really does like come down to, SoundCloud, and that's how people hear about the music. So I feel like with Giraffage as well, who I'm on tour with, we were just talking about it last night, how crazy it is that like all these kids from like suburbia writing music in their parents' like house, like in a room, breaking through. And there's like, thanks to the whole social media thing.
Can you tell me what a snake penis is?
Oh, well, what you do is you get Snapchat. I made a Snapchat account, and I posted it up on my FLUME page thinking it would be really fun. Next minute, I've just got, you wouldn't expect it. You get a lot of manginas sent to you. You don't know what that is?
I was trying to picture that.
Yeah, mangina, Google it. Yeah, I didn't see it coming, but snake penis seemed to be a thing where guys, they'll take a picture of their dick and then draw like a snake head on the tip with a little tongue coming out.
So what's your reaction now that social media is part of your job when you get those types of things?
Well, at first I thought it was kind of funny, but then, I don't know, it became a thing, and I said it one time in an interview, and then I just got more. And then I just stopped using Snapchat so much.
So I'm curious why you would get that in the first place.
No, I don't know. You could, maybe contact him, call him up, ask him why. I think he thought it was pretty funny.
I'm scared to, because I don't want to get that.
Yeah, you get all sorts of shit. I have a dude that he would send me pictures of mythical creatures that he drew. And he'd be like, here you go, FLUME, this is to keep you safe at night. This will protect you in your sleep. And it's kind of nice, but in a very creepy way.
Do you keep those pictures?
There's been a lot of them. I haven't kept any.
Wow, that's kind of intense. Kind of sweet, but kind of intense. I don't know.
It is. It's very yeah, man. It's funny. Like even with Twitter, like the ability, like people can just contact you like straight away. You know, I see pretty much everything on Twitter, so it's nuts. Social media. I've always seen it as like a really positive thing. Just the ability for fans to actually connect, and you know, they can send me stuff, and I think it's a great thing. Hey, this is Flume, and you're listening to the interview show with Scott Wood. Hey, this is Flume, and you're listening to the interview show with Scott Wood.
Welcome to the interview show. This is Scott Wood, your host. You just heard Insane featuring Moon Holiday. That song is by a guy called Flume. You might know him as Harley. I'm talking to him right now. I'd love it if you could talk a bit about this track.
Oh, sorry, which track? Sorry.
Insane.
Oh, Insane. It's super influenced by like trance music, really, and also the kind of whole French electro wave. That track started off with a lot of melody. Like sometimes they start tracks with beats, sometimes they started with like chord progression and melody, and that was really centered around the melody. That piece of music, it's a simple beat, but the melodies are what kind of shines through in that one. I wanted a vocal for like the verse to really lift the track and make it into a song, so I contacted Alex at Moon Holiday, and we got in the studio together, did some recordings, and yeah, it came out really well.
You're part of a new crop of musicians who are quite young and made a big impact in their chosen fields. Like guys like Disclosure, you, Bondax, I guess. You're all young guys, and you've been in the industry long enough that you've had a chance to hang around with the more established guys in the genre. So I'm hoping to get your take on any generational differences in approaches to music.
I guess for the younger dudes, like, we can, I've grown up, with computers all my life, and I can write, like I write just with my laptop wherever, in a hotel room, right here in a dressing room. And I think that's really, a lot of the older dudes, like, will need a studio, like, to set up, because that's just what they've grown up with, using synths and stuff. And I think, that's probably one of the big differences, is that we can get away with just writing music in all sorts of places and really don't need a whole lot. A lot of it's in the box now.
Where's the strangest place you've written a track?
Maybe like I was touring, I traveled through Europe and backpacked, and I actually wrote a lot of the record in just random places, in like hostel dorms, or like at pubs and cafes, all sorts of places.
So you were that guy in the Starbucks in Germany writing tracks on your laptop?
Yeah, that's right. I'm the guy that sat there for 4 hours and bought 2 coffees.
Nice. All right, so you hate being asked your origin story, so I won't ask that. But I'll give you the opportunity to control the interview. And what's one question that you're not asked very often, and you wonder why people don't ask that to FLUME?
Oh, I don't know. I get asked everything, man. If you really want me to do the cereal box thing, we can do the cereal box thing.
It's the best origin story I've heard for a guy in electronic music in a long time.
No, it is a really great story. It's like it's a great story, and I totally get why people ask it all the time as well. So I was shopping with my dad when I was super young. Must have been about 11 or so, probably younger actually. But I was out shopping on the weekend. I think it was a Saturday, and I saw this promo on a cereal box of Nutri-Grain, and it had this disc inside, and it was called Andrew G's Music Maker. Now Andrew G was kind of like a bit of a personality, kind of like a Ryan Seacrest or something. Did like Australian Idol. They had this promo on where it was like a little music maker, and it was just like a loop based program, and so I thought that sounded kind of cool, so I got Dad to get that, and I put it in the computer and started mucking around, and I just, the whole concept of being able to like control everything rather than just being like, a guitarist in a band. You can, be the guy who plays the strings and the bass and the drums, and you can create your own full tracks. And that was, for me, was kind of mind blowing. I was like, wow, didn't know this existed. This is how it works. Like, I didn't know how music production worked. It was always a hobby since then. And in the past few years, maybe even like 2 years, it's become a job, which was always the plan. So it's really nice.
So there you go. There's the best origin story I've heard for a band or electronic artist in a long time. Thank you very much for indulging me. I really appreciate that. I'm going to end the show with On Top, featuring T.Shirt by FLUME. I'd love it if you could talk a bit about that as I bring up the music.
Yeah, so this one is the one track on the record that we've got a rapper on. And it's a banger. It's a good one to play out. It's a lot of fun. Actually, it goes really hard here in America specifically, or in Canada I am right now. But I've just been through the US, and you know how hip hop is over this way. They love it.
All right, so we're gonna listen to On Top by FLUME featuring T.Shirt. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hey, this is FLUME, and you're listening to the interview show with Scott Wood.
All that I want in this life is the chance to do my thing. All that I want in this life is the chance to do my thing. Yeah. I want the top. All my people right there in the back of the spot. I need the top. If you know me, you don't know me to stop. I need the top. All my people there in back of the spot. Let them get shot. Yeah. And you don't just wake up rich one day. This kind of life never
just slip your way. I gave up taking carefree trips to the Bay. Cali bound is cause I got a flip in LA. Paris bound cause the new video's on the way. No breaks for me, no vacates for me. I advance every minute, boy, I live it. Why start shit you don't finish? I want the top. All my people right there in the back of the spot, I need the top. If you know me, you don't know me to stop, I need the top. All my people there in back of the spot, let them shot. Yeah. Drinks on chill, got drinks on chill. Lights get dim and I think I will. I work so hard that I think I will. Yeah, the long week, bitch, how you think I feel? History favors the bold dog. Roll something, make sure my story gets told. Make sure our story gets told. The night's forever young, it's us that get old.
Chance to do my thing.
I want the top. All my people right there in the back of the spot, I need the top. If you know me, you don't know me to stop, I need the top. All my people there in back of the spot, let them shout. Yeah. I want the top, 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 top. All my people right there in the back of the spot, I need the top, 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 top. If you know me, you don't know me to stop, I need the top, 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 top. All my people there in back of the spot, let them shout. Yeah. All my people right there in the back of the spot, I need the top, 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 top. If you know me, you don't know me to stop, I need the top, 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 top. All my people there in back of the spot, let them shout. Yeah. I want the top, 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 top. All my people right there in the back of the spot, I need the top, 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 top. If you know me, you don't know me to stop, I need the top, 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 top. All my people there back in the spot, let them shout. What you got for me, world? What you got?